Hi, this is Sean Hagen with Global Energy Education's Daily Spark. And today we have another question from Kedar Balasubramanian. Go ahead, Kedar.
Hi, Sean. So I've got another question for you. If I were to replace 1 megawatt of coal or natural gas or nuclear with 1 megawatt of solar or wind, would I be qualitatively and quantitatively receiving the same amount of power and or energy?
Thanks, Kedar. That's a great question. The simple answer is no. You're not going to end up with the same amount of energy produced by two different technologies at the same capacity. Now, here we get into the plant output capacity, which is measured in megawatts, versus the annual energy capacity, which is measured in megawatt hours. So if we look at a solar PV plant at 1 megawatt capacity, plant output, and a nuclear plant of 1 megawatt capacity, plant output, they each have 8,760 hours in a year in which they can operate, but they operate at different capacity factors. Now, capacity factor is simply the actual amount of energy a plant produces divided by its capacity in energy, its annual capacity in energy for over a year. And you want to take a year to look at it because a year will account for all the seasons and the variations between each month, each season, different lengths in the time of day and what have you. It will repeat every year. So a solar PV plant has an average capacity factor of about 25%, which means it'll produce about 2190 or 2,190 megawatt hours in that year. A nuclear power plant, however, has an average capacity factor of about 92%. So in other words, it'll produce a little over 8,000 megawatt hours in a year. So that annual difference in megawatt hours is a little under 6,000 megawatt hours, a little over 5,870 megawatt hours. Difference, reduction. In other words, the solar PV plant, if you replace 1 megawatt of nuclear with 1 megawatt of solar, you will have produced, you'll create a gap of just under 6,000 megawatt hours per megawatt of nameplate capacity. So if you hear people saying, well, we've produced X number of megawatt hour nameplate capacity and replaced this much firm capacity with variable renewable capacity, that's the wrong metric to look at. You have to look at the amount of energy they produce. So I hope that answers your question, Kedar, that you have to look at energy. You can't just look at capacity or power output. Great question. If you have a question for Global Energy Education, please send it to info@globalenergyed.org. Thanks. Talk to you later.